spraying and getting my bag at. Now I'm going up. I'm in the brand.
Yo, look. I'm gonna say this right now, bro. I'm a LeBron fan. I'm gonna keep it a beam. I'm a LeBron fan, and I feel like for a fact, this new generation is better. Like for a fact, LeBron has had to fight way more people, like way more like top tier level opponents than MJ did. No disrespect to MJ, but like MJ is not LeBron, bro. For me, like you gotta really think about like I mean, yeah, but like the whole Bron shit. Like I was thinking about it, and I'm like, anyways, let me just watch the video
of a civil war. The age-old debate
because
of
it makes
past versus
sense.
present has reached critical mass, and sides have been taken. A revolution is taking place, and we're losing good men. Old school versus new school. Back in the day versus modern day. A story as old as time itself.
They're
I
just
tried
not
to
nice like
ignore
that,
this
bro.
bloodbath, but just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, it all got so much worse.
With the 90s.
Yeah,
Film of
but hold on. I just want to say something about this whole done with the 90s. People are overdoing it. As a LeBron fan, some of you niggas are overdoing it, bro. Like some of you say Jordan was a bad defender. Out of everything we can say about Jordan, I don't think a bad defender is one of them. I do believe he didn't have a left. I do believe that. Like most people back then. But I don't believe he was bad at defense, bro. I saw a few people they were like, "Oh, Jordan was actually bad at defense. Look at this, showing low lights. Like you could grab low lights of LeBron playing defense, and you're like, yo, look, like come on, bro. What are we doing? We gotta stop that."
NBA games from the 80s and 90s coming to light, showing that the good old days were in fact not that good.
Oh nah,
This
this
whole
nigga's
time,
ass.
the punishing defensive legend was actually just a bunch of plumbers camping out in the paint looking for someone to hack. Shots
Facts.
clinking
I
off the
can't lie.
backboard, players running around aimlessly, wreaking havoc. And worst of all, Michael Jeffrey Jordan, the supposed greatest basketball player
No,
of
he's
all
not.
time,
He's not the
didn't even
GOAT.
have a left hand.
He didn't.
What's
That's a
going on?
fact.
Have we been lied
He
to
didn't
about
have a left
basketball in
hand.
the 80s and 90s?
Let's keep
What
it a
were we really
bum.
done with
A
that
buck.
era of hoops? Or are we being deceived by lowlights, misinformation, and cherry-picked clips?
That's what I'm saying. The
I
low
think I've
lights
got
is
an
crazy.
answer, and some of y'all ain't gonna like it.
Young Shaq is good. Yo, I've seen full games, right?
Today's video is sponsored by
Full games of
SeatGeek,
like,
the
yo,
NBA
I ain't gonna lie, yo, go support. I don't know what this nigga is, so
dribbling off their feet, throwing up air balls, and putting together moves that you might see at your local high school's JV game. So, for whatever it's worth, here is my long-winded take on this whole discussion.
let me hear it. Young Shaq, old Jordan, not super old, but
I want to begin by saying what this discourse has taught me more than anything
oh
else
nah.
is that NBA fans today never actually took the time to go back and watch games of the past.
Yeah,
Brothers,
I
have
did.
been harping on this for years, begging for fans of the game, whether you are new or have been watching for years, to just go back and watch full games. Not highlights, not clips, full-length games of eras from the past.
I've been this how you know I'm a real NBA fan, right? I've been watched full games, like especially like finals and all that. And this is why I feel like this is why I was like, yo, Jordan's nice, but he's not LeBron, bro. Cause yo, I watched the full games and I saw it. I saw it in my own eyes, bro. I was like, yo, some moves were like, okay, that's weird. Like the whole like, and people have been pointing it out. He didn't have a left, so whenever he was on the left side of the court, he always tried to like dribble all the way back to the right side of the court to do a little move. I'm like, yo, King, you were on the left side. You could have just and yo, I'm not even a real like I'm not a hooper for me. I got a left. I'm not being paid 25 M's. MJ was being paid 25 M's and he ain't got no left. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me.
And
That's all I'm
after
gonna say.
seeing this discussion devolve into where it is today, it is clear to me that most people never take the time. I'm seeing countless fans have this sort of awakening as they're watching films of these old games as if the footage was buried or lost and it's finally being unearthed for the world to see. It's been right here on YouTube for the past 15
Facts.
years.
That's what I'm
You mean to
saying.
tell me the same
I've
fans
been
who
telling
chime in
niggas
with
to
a
do that.
full-blown thesis on the GOAT debate never spared the time to even watch the games they were referring to? I guess that does explain a lot. Now, I'd like to think I'm somewhere in the middle on this whole discussion. I have said on multiple occasions that players in today's NBA are simply more skilled than players of the past, which has resulted in bigger stat lines and higher point totals than ever before.
Right.
It's not the defense that has gotten worse, it's the offense that has gotten better.
Exactly.
You know, that whole spiel. But I also have an appreciation for the greats that came before and how incredible some players of past eras were. In fact,
I'm gonna keep. Some people don't know this, but Hakeem Olajuwon is in my top 5. And he is my second favorite player of all time. My first, LeBron James. My second, Hakeem Olajuwon. And my third is Allen Iverson. I'm gonna just keep it
almost
over
feel
there.
like I'm hallucinating.
People be
seeing
sleeping
this
on Hakeem,
90s
bro.
basketball slander campaign unfold in front of my eyes. It feels like everyone's perception on the age-old debate
We
changed
done with the
literally
90s.
overnight. I know that's not
Nah,
the
my
case,
face is
but
crazy,
after
bro.
seeing all of this play out, it sure feels that way. But today,
This
I'm
is
not just gonna show you some cherry-picked
long-winded.
clips or
Holy.
unhinge this narrative even further. I'm gonna show you real film, real data, and proof of how we might actually be done with the 80s and 90s. And, of course, if Michael Jordan really had no left hand. Spoiler, he did.
He didn't. He didn't. I've been watching.
L'huile de palme de Nutella est-elle produite de façon responsable? Oui. Une huile de palme durable 100% certifiée RSPO, entièrement traçable jusqu'aux plantations. Notre haut niveau de certification signifie que nous pouvons respecter nos engagements contre la
YouTube, this is
déforestation.
OD. Skip. If you guys watch it, watch the whole.
Now, I have been an advocate for the modern players are better than players of the past movement for quite some time now. In fact, as crazy as it is for younger fans to say Michael Jordan was trash, it's just as absurd for older fans to say.
Yeah, people that say Michael Jordan would be Jalen Brown in today's NBA is cap. It's cap. Jalen Brown is nice at 3-point. Michael Jordan will be DeMar DeRozan, bro. I'm sorry. DeMar is nice. DeMar is nice. But that's all he'll be.
Say the game hasn't evolved and gotten better over the last 30 years. Because that's all this debate really is. Young fans versus old fans, or fans that watched this versus fans that are watching this. But objectively, players today are much better than they were in the 80s and even the 90s.
That was
Specifically,
nice.
the lower end of the talent is
get off me
better than it was in the past. I think
bro,
great players would be
watching
great in
hoops
any era, but with
makes
the
you want to go
spacing,
hoop,
the
bro.
shot making,
This is
the
why I can't watch
emphasis on
basketball too
offense as
much.
opposed to
Makes
defense
me want to
has
go
made
hoop.
the depth across the NBA today just way ahead of where it was in the 80s and the 90s. There was, without exaggeration, guys in the NBA throughout the 80s and 90s that were on NBA rosters just to accumulate fouls and sit in the paint and be big. Some of these players were offensively inept, and that was okay because their role was not to create offense. But in
Give me
today's
that.
NBA, where offense reigns supreme, there is no room for these players. Now, you could and should go back and watch film of games, not highlights, from this era and see just how limited the skill sets of some of these players were.
You guys are
Shot
fighting
making,
against
for the
each
most
other.
part, was limited to set jumpers, slashers coming downhill for layups, and big men trying to muscle their way to a bucket down low in the midst of what appears to be a wrestling match. Catch a player off
This
guard
looks
with a double
crazy,
team,
bro.
and they immediately pick up their dribble. Simple things like guards turning their back to the basket 20 feet out instead of creating space off the dribble. Even players looking down at the ball while trying to get out on a fast break was very common in this era. And these aren't lowlights or cherry-picked incidences. This is just what the game looked like 35 years ago. But even without film, nearly every metric suggests modern players are more capable.
Okay,
of
this looks
players in the
crazy.
past.
This looks way
Free
too
throw
crazy.
percentage was worse, three-point percentage was worse, turnover percentage was higher. They used to shoot more free throws, but still ended up with far less points. Now, this is not to say that this era of hoops was trash. That's
It
just
was.
disingenuous and flat out wrong. These were the best players in the world at the time. it was just simply not as good as what it is today. But maybe there's another layer to this that needs to be factored in to really understand why these players were not as skilled as the players of today.
Head tap, head tap, head tap. Look at MJ's face, bro.
Now, despite this being a very relevant topic for years, the idea of rule changes and how these changes have affected the game still remain a mystery to some. Players were a product of their era and the rules of their era. The first step to discovering greats of the past is to watch film of them play. The next step is to gather and understand the context of the film you are watching. When you see a 6'9" Magic Johnson go flying down the court with what looks like kind of a stiff dribble, you may think the man has no bag. But my friends, Magic Johnson did have a bag.
Back
the
then.
rules in place at the time only allowed him to reach so far into it before he got called for every violation in the rulebook. Consider the fact that any move where your hand wasn't completely on top of the basketball was considered a carry. No 0 steps, no gather steps. You get 2 steps, and anything more was called a travel. No backward shuffles to create separation. No lunging into players to draw easy fouls. Here's a clip of Danny Ainge hitting Kevin McHale with a hezzy in the mid-80s. And the man thinks he just witnessed witchcraft.
But when practice sessions were completed, some of the most competitive competition began.
Double dribble! Double dribble! He did too!
Here's some more clips of players getting called for travels and carries, doing moves that are very typical and allowed in 2024. 90% of the moves you see today, the very method most players generate their offense, would be called for some sort of violation 40 or 30 or even 20 years ago. And this isn't just some cop-out or excuse as to why these players of the past weren't doing this stuff. The rule changes are real.
This is definitely a cop-out, because watch the game, they be carrying old YouTube.
Players grew up and shaped their game around these looser rules, and now they have free reign to let their basketball bag run wild. But that's kind of the point. Players of the past didn't grow up practicing 25-footers. They didn't work on a dozen moves to create separation. They played in offensive systems that focused on the team, the collective, schemes and sets that resembled something closer to college basketball, where ISO possessions were few and far in between. So they never developed an arsenal to counter these situations.
He was running his fastest. That was as fast as he could go.
If Larry Bird grew up with a three-point line, he might have been the greatest long-range shooter ever. But he didn't. And as a result, he didn't shoot a lot of threes, and he wasn't as efficient as the best shooters today. We can sit here and assume these players of the past might be as capable as players today if they were playing under the same rules and conditions. But they didn't. And I don't think we should assume that.
Larry Bird jumper
they played in a different time, and they became a product of that time. But that's not to say the game was trash back then, or that the superstars of these eras couldn't compete in today's league. Now, as time goes by, I think it's easy to forget just how long ago 1980 was. 44 years ago, if my math is correct, which is in fact a very long time ago. In 1985, Magic Johnson won an NBA title, Larry Bird won the league MVP, and Michael Jordan won Rookie of the Year. That was 39 years ago from today, which is the same exact amount of time that has passed from that 1985 season to the year the NBA was founded in 1946.
So it was the middle.
Clips. Do you think these players could compete with the likes of Bird, Magic, and Jordan? Let me answer that for you. No. But take the best players of the 80s and 90s, and could they compete in today's league? Absolutely. Give these guys some credit. Watching this today is the equivalent of watching this in the 80s. And yet this product is vastly closer to the basketball we see today than this product was to what fans were witnessing in the 80s. In fact, we can use different superstars as sort of a cross-generational measuring stick to see just how stiff the competition has been over the years. Larry and Magic played Michael, who played Kobe, who played LeBron, who has played the players of today. And nowhere down this timeline was there any real jump or fall off in production or level of competition from one era to the next. Each era had their stars. Those stars crossed paths with stars of other eras, and no one era was clear-cut ahead of the other. If the 80s were so
Cap.
bad, then why did players of the 90s have to wait for those guys to get old and retire to have a shot at winning? And if the 90s were so bad, then why did players of the 2000s not win until those guys retired?
That's cap. He just lied. What do you mean? What players in the 2000s had to wait until the 90s players retired? That was cap. Wait, did I understand that
If
correctly?
the 80s were
That's
so
cap.
bad, then why did players of the 90s have to wait for those guys to get old and retire to have a shot at winning?
Okay, yeah, that's true. Cause the Bad Boy Pistons and the Lakers at their peak, the Showtime Lakers and the Celtics and all of them, right? MJ couldn't win. Wow, my fault. Couldn't win against them for a long time, right? That's facts.
If the 90s were so bad, then why did players of the 2000s not win until those guys retired?
But that's just cap, though. What player of the 2000 didn't win until the 90s players? Are you saying like Kobe and Shaq are 90s players? Because if that's what you're saying, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Because that might be what he's saying. Because if that's what he's saying,
We don't need to assume that adjacent eras could compete with
I would say they're 2000 players. But like if you're saying they're 90s players, okay, cool.
one another because we actually saw it. MJ struggled with some of the guys that came before him. Shaq struggled against Hakeem and Kobe struggled against MJ. LeBron struggled against guys like Duncan and Dirk. Players of today have struggled to get past some of the older players in the league.
No, like come on, bro. What are we doing? How is okay?
Are a product of
Maybe
the
I'm wrong.
Now,
Maybe
what
I'm
we
wrong.
shouldn't do is jump 3 or 4 eras at a time, ignoring entire decades of evolution and saying the game back then was better or even as good as it is today. At a certain point, the knowledge and wisdom that comes from actually witnessing decades of NBA history, like some older fans have, becomes skewed and watered down by nostalgia and a generational bias. Superstars are superstars because their game transcends the era they played in, but they also played in an inferior league. These two ideas are not mutually exclusive. And although generational talents of the past would do just fine today, this same logic does not apply to the vast majority of the league throughout the 80s and 90s.
That was nice. I feel like he's not really saying anything right now. He hasn't really said if we're done with the 90s and 80s or not. I guess you could say he said that
if
we're
the
not
80s
really
were inferior to today's league and the 90s were inferior as well, when did the NBA become not trash? Well, it
around
depends
like
on how you look at it.
2003.
Ironically, I think there's a pretty clear distinction to the skill
LeBron's
set of
year.
players before Michael Jordan hit his peak and after. For example, the early 90s and late 90s, although being in the same decade, were massively different in play style and skill sets. Think for a second about the fact that Magic Johnson was still in his prime in the early 90s and Allen Iverson was entering his prime in the late 90s. In less than 10 years, basketball became a massively different
He
game.
just lied
By
for
the late
no
90s,
reason.
the players who
Magic
grew up
was
watching
not in
Jordan
his,
fly through the
you
air
know.
and slice up defenses were in the league and were reshaping the role that perimeter players played. Guys like Kobe Bryant, Allen Iverson, Ray Allen, Stephon Marbury, Grant Hill, Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter. All these guys came into the league around the same time and were products of what they saw MJ do throughout his career.
Nah, they were
Players
nice. They
with
were
a
nice.
skill set that more closely resembles what we see today than it did to the skill sets of players of the 80s and even early 90s. This is where I think most fans might make the distinction of when the league really took a leap, not in competitiveness, but rather play style. You can go back and watch these guys play, and it's not too different than watching an NBA game today. Or you can point to the shift in play style that happened in the late 2010s, after Steph Curry redefined what makes a great championship caliber player, and the league adjusted to this new three-point heavy perimeter focused style.
Nah, that ball was spinning like this, not like this. I don't know how he shot that. That was OD.
Emulated that style of play,
Game
tailored
is
their games
nice.
to it, and are now in the league doing things that only Steph could do a decade ago. So if we're done with the 80s and 90s, where can we look back and no longer apply this air tax on these
2003.
players? I think most fans would agree that the turn of the century is where the modern era of hyper-skilled players began. You can say objectively that this
2003.
era was not trash, and most players of this generation would do just fine in today's league. But if that is the case, then modern NBA fans are holding a ticking time bomb, and they might not even know it.
Hey, look at Wemby and Chet, bro. Those two are freaks. They are freaks, gang. They might be the future, though.
When we are older and a new
Exactly,
generation
Chet.
of NBA fans claim our favorite players, the guys we grew up watching,
Ooh,
are not as good
no
as the players
way.
of the future, what will you have to say? Right now,
I ain't gonna lie, I
there's
haven't
no
watched
one
a
in the world
single
who can shoot
game
like Steph Curry. But
of Chet
inevitably, there will be.
or
And eventually, there
Wemby.
will be
Not a
many
single.
players who can shoot like him. His records will fall, his percentages won't look as good through the lens of 2040, and although his legacy will be cemented, his actual game will be put into question. And based on the arguments I'm hearing today on why past players were trash, we will have nothing to
you
say.
see, this is cap. You wanna know why? Because the NBA sees where it's going, right? People are saying like, yo, the scoring is going out of hand, like we ain't got no defense, like what's going on, right? So obviously they'll have to do something about it. They'll have to put some defense in place so like niggas can actually play defense. So I don't believe this whole like, oh,
That
we'll
will
say
change
Steph
their
Curry
minds.
was trash in a few years. I don't believe that. I don't see how you can, you know what I'm saying? I just don't
know
believe that.
that Curry was the first to do what he's doing. He is a pioneer of the modern NBA.
Unless they do like a crazy fourth.
Claims. But if we aren't willing to hear older fans out today, what makes us think younger fans will hear us out in the future? Mark my words. There will be a day when young fans will go back, watch film of LeBron, and say he couldn't compete with players of the future.
That is, you wanna know what's, that is literally impossible. There has to be like, yo, LeBron is 6'8", 6'9", 280, runs like a point guard. Now, for 2 years of his career, he shot over 40%. 2 years now. I doubt that will ever happen, bro.
It's already happening. Fans saying he has no bag.
Because he's old now.
Bigger numbers than he ever did.
Yo, come on. This guy's, like, you know why they're saying that. Because he's old. They don't see the high flying and all of that. Like, I don't know if you guys remember this, but, like, when Kobe was becoming old, right? People were starting to say, like, oh, Kobe's not really top 5. He's not. Don't lie. Before he died, people were saying that. Just because he got old. But, like, way back in the 2010s and all that, like, yo, we remember how tough he was, bro. But the kids were saying, oh, nah, he's not all that. He's not even top 5. But now that he died, obviously, everybody's like, oh, no, he's top 5. But before that, the kids were wilding, bro.
Skill sets a bit deeper with games that look more polished. It's all fun and games now to crack jokes about past eras. But our day will come too.
That's
and
cap.
it ain't gonna be pretty.
That is
but
impossible.
Giannis could only run and dunk. Your era was trash. Y'all had a dude who couldn't get 2 feet off the ground running the whole league. You can scramble to pull up clips and show the numbers, but their minds will already be made up. This is why I think it is so important to have genuine...
No. Yeah, I'm with you. They could say that about Giannis because that's all he does. Mainly, he runs and dunks. Let's be honest. They could say that about Jokic because the NBA is being dominated by a guy that can barely jump. So that's facts. That's like, how do you call that? Like, valid criticism, right? That's valid criticism. But like, what can you possibly say about LeBron? Oh, he didn't play defense. That's cap. Watch Miami LeBron. Yes, if you're talking about old LeBron, yes, old LeBron was, you know what I'm saying, he did a whole bunch of things wrong. But like, 1 year, he averaged 10 assists per game. 2 years, he averaged more than 40% from the 3-point line. I'm pretty sure that, probably not. Let's say 1 year he averaged more than 8 rebounds per game. I'm not 100% sure about 10 rebounds, but let's go 8. So they can't really say anything. What could they possibly say about LeBron? So
out discourse about the game if you're truly a fan of it. But to all of the older fans out there, you kinda started this whole thing. For years, we heard y'all badmouth modern players, saying the league is soft, players today couldn't compete back then. Back in my day, real men played the game. Y'all cannot be mad that some fans are done with the 80s and 90s when y'all never even gave modern basketball a chance. Sure, a lot of fans never took the time to go back and watch the greats of the past, but let's be honest for a second. Older fans don't watch games today. They catch a stray clip on Facebook of LeBron flopping and like an echo chamber of disgruntled old men. They just start firing
King of
away in the
flops.
comments,
Yes, he's the
agreeing with
king
one
of
another.
flops.
Y'all asked for this. I've been watching the NBA since the mid-2000s.
He is the king of flops, though.
Kobe,
Let's not lie.
D-Wade, McGrady, Iverson, Shaq, Nash. Those were
Bro,
my
be
guys.
flopping, bro. Let's be
But
honest.
I can
I'm number one
acknowledge those
fan, bro.
greats and say they were incredible, while also acknowledging that version of the NBA as a whole was not as refined or as good as it is today. Now, will I be able to make
I
that
mean, maybe
distinction?
because I grew up with pretty much that era of basketball, but that era was fire, bro. Like you watch the whole game and you're like, oh, nah, these players they're good. You know what I'm saying, you watch the 90s and you're like, yo, some of these players are. What I'm saying.
In 20 years, when some snot-nosed brat tells me my glorious king was trash,
That would
that's
never.
for sure.
That would literally never happen. Oh my god, that would literally never happen. Cause nobody's touching that 40 piece. You know what I'm saying, at 40,000 points, nobody's touching it. He's in top 10 in rebounds, top 10 in assists. Some points in his career, he was amazing at defense. It's literally not happening. You can say that about any other player, but LeBron, it's not happening, bro. I'm sorry. What? Come on, bro. And at his, let me stop.
Now, it's time to once and for all take a real close look at this accusation that Michael Jordan did not have a left hand. I felt like I was having a bad dream when I first saw this claim, but unfortunately, I was not. I feel like no one actually believes this. This is just some high-level...
Oh my god. Is he dead ass? He's going to show highlights to be like, oh, he did have a left hand. You know what? This is like me saying, oh, LeBron has always been clutch. Always. Yeah, this is like me saying, oh, LeBron has always been clutch. Like, that would be a lie. LeBron hasn't always been clutch. Come on, bro. And then I show like little clips of him being clutch, and I'm like, you see, he's always been clutch. Like, come on, bro. Like, yes, we're not saying he's always never delivered when it's clutch time, but in the beginning of his career, he wasn't the most clutch guy ever. I mean, at the end of his career, you have like oh how can I say that? Like, you have an argument for LeBron being as clutch as MJ, Kobe, and all of them. But showing a few clips of him using his left hand, like, come on,
trolling.
Watch a
But
full
in an
game.
effort to stop this nonsense from spreading any further, I have no choice but to take these accusations seriously. So I selected 8 random games ranging from Michael Jordan's rookie season all the way up to the mid-90s, and play by play gathered all of his possessions throughout these games, charted when he went to his right, when he went to his left, and what those possessions resulted in. And here is what I found. Jordan made a move with his left hand or his right hand 227 times. Of those 227 moves, 121 of them were with his...
You wanna know what's funny? There's literally nobody that'll check him. I can watch a full game and I can see that Jordan didn't have a left. He wasn't comfortable going left. He was like, oh, if I go left, I'll choke. Let's be honest. But since he did all of this, you're like,
his right hand, and 106 of them were with his left hand. Of the 121 right-handed moves, he passed up or got fouled on 54 of them, so I didn't bother charting those. 65 of these moves resulted in a shot, in which he made 63% of them and only turned the ball over 2 times. Now, moves that he made with his left hand resulted in a pass or him getting fouled 45 times, while 55 of these left-handed moves ended up in a shot, in which he made 51%, and 6 moves resulted in a turnover. So, based on this data, Jordan was definitely more comfortable going right, especially near the rim and even on mid-range jumpers. He struggled a bit in comparison to his right whenever he pulled up off of a left-handed dribble. But overall, Jordan went to his left 47% of the time, and although it was his weaker hand, he was still above league average even while going to his left. But 8 games in 350 minutes of basketball is a relatively small sample size. So I looked into it further and found this. A detailed breakdown of Michael Jordan's shot chart and shot tendencies in 3 seasons from 1990 to 1992. 126 games and over 4,800 minutes in total, tracking exactly what Michael did on the court for 3 seasons. And here's what the data shows. In total, Michael made 1,074 moves in isolation, going either to his right or to his left hand. 48% of those moves were with his right hand, and 52% of those moves were with his left hand. When going to the right, Michael shot 61.7% on 410 shots with 15 turnovers, resulting in 1.38 points per possession. When going to his left, Michael shot 61.3% on 421 shots with 36 turnovers, resulting in 1.31 points per possession. So even with a much larger sample size,
Wait. So when he goes left, his percentage is 61.3. When he goes right, his percentage is 61.7. Am I missing something? Why has he never averaged 61% in a season? Am I missing something? I feel like I'm missing something. I have to be missing something. So what is this? Michael Jordan's shot frequencies and tendencies in 126 games from 19. Okay, yeah. So how come he? Huh? No. I feel like I'm missing something. What's going on right now? Wait, Michael Jordan's shot frequency and tendencies, total moves with his left hand, 60. Wait, I'm so confused. If he's averaging, these numbers are clearly false. Or am I? Let me know in the comments if I'm confused on something, bro.
Michael not only
Maybe
had a
I don't
left
get
hand,
it.
he
Explain
went
it
to
to
it
me.
just as often as he went to his right, and was nearly as proficient with his left as he was with his right.
So
Now,
how
for
come
some
he
context,
didn't
throughout
average?
this 3-year span, Michael made on average 4.4 left-handed isolation moves, or in this case, isolation possessions, that resulted in 1.31 points per possession. Now, here are some prolific scores from this season and their overall tendencies and efficiency in isolation.
Maybe I'm missing
Keep in
something,
mind,
bro.
this data includes both right-handed and left-handed moves from these players. And now here is Michael Jordan with just his left hand.
That's what I'm saying. This is literally impossible. He didn't average in any way, sense, or form. He never averaged 60% field goal. I gotta be missing something. Somebody tell me, like, I gotta be missing something. I don't get it.
Yeah. I'd say contrary to what has now become popular belief, Michael Jordan had a left hand. And I cannot believe we had to dig into the data to come to this conclusion.
I don't get this data, bro.
I think the overall idea that the 80s and 90s were a far less skilled time in the NBA compared to today is probably fair. I mean, you'd be crazy to think the game hasn't evolved in 4 decades.
All right, well, so we're not done with the 90s. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Cause I feel like some of us, I gotta admit it, bro. Some of y'all, not me. Some of you guys, we're going OD with it, bro. I heard people saying like he wasn't good in defense and showing low lights and all types of crazy stuff. I was like, nah, people are insane if they're saying Jordan is not nice in defense. If there's one thing we know Jordan was nice at, was defense. Come on, bro. But yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Look, it's been your boy Tycho. I feel like, let's be honest, the 90s was the 90s, and now it's now. The change happened like when people became actually good at basketball. The change happened around like 2003, so we could say 2000. So from 2000 and up, basketball became awesome. Yeah. So I'll see you in the next video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Make sure to go see my other videos, man. I got some good shit out there. So Have a nice night.
Ain't none of these demons can do to me. I know I'm seated in a heavenly place. I know that ain't nobody ever moving me. Spirit